Hi everyone. So people are getting tired, so I'll try to make it accessible and fun as much as possible. How many of you, if I ask you right now, can give me the definition of what Web 3.0 is? Like if I come down and ask you, right? Who can tell me? Okay, I don't see many hands. So we have a big problem in the Web 3 industry. If you want mass adoption of Web 3, you should be able to explain it to a 60-year-old and to a 10-year-old. And normally the definitions, even if you go to Wikipedia, they have buzzwords, blockchains and token-based economies and metaverses and everything like that. And the normal person asks, well, why do I need this, right? So no wonder that many people think that Web3 is a scam. So what is Web 3.0? I guess one thing that we can agree on is that it's a version number, right? It's a software version number. It's the next generation of the internet. But the question is, why do I need next generation of the internet? Why do I need all your blockchains? My current internet is working fine without all your blockchains and tokens. Yes, it does, until one morning you wake up and it says, this account has been terminated for violating community guidelines. One of your content creators, podcasters that you like to hear. And I'm not even talking about someone like, I don't know, Andrew Tate or Alex Jones or Trump, some controversial figure, but come on, someone like Jordan Peterson now, right? Years of creating hours of content and helping people not to commit suicide and prolific book author. One controversial tweet and he's out, all his audience. And imagine how many years it takes to amass an audience like this, a life's work, and then turns out it wasn't your audience, it was an audience you rented from big tech. And to understand how crazy this is, doesn't matter whether you like those people or not, imagine someone showed up, like millions of people physically showed up and said, clicked subscribe, said, I want to hear from this person. And then there's one anonymous person somewhere said, no, I don't think so. Right? So that's how stupid the current situation is. And it's not just like specifically for you, a lot of crypto people have been affected as well. Like Ivan on Tech, for example, that's in Dubai right now, etc. So then you start to think, all right, I don't like the situation. Is there anything we can do? I don't like that big tech has such a control over the information and what we see. Is there anything we can do? Yes, there is. It's called Web 3.0, and that's why we're working on it. Internet without censorship. So you start researching. You're not saying it out loud. You start thinking, right? Because you don't want your account banned too. But you start thinking, okay, how can we do this? And then the problem is you look around, and not only people are not only there is censorship, not only there is self-censorship, because all people trying to be as mainstream as possible. They don't want to be a little bit on the fringe side because they are worried that their accounts could be banned too. So everyone is the same, right? On top of that, they do what's called a shadow ban. And the easiest way to explain it, whenever you scroll your YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, there must be something that decides what to show you next. And this is called the algorithm, right? And the purpose of this algorithm was very simple and very wholesome. It was to glue you to the screen 24/7 as much as possible, so you see the most amount of ads to get the most profit for the companies. But that wasn't enough for the big tech cartel. They said, no, actually, we want, please, our engineers, give us a tool that we could go there and we could change the algorithm to boost certain voices and suppress other voices, right? What people see. And of course, we're only going to use it for good, not for evil. And of course, they use it for evil. Now they use it for political censorship. Mark Zuckerberg just admitted to it on the Joe Rogan podcast a couple of weeks ago. So you see the world through the reality filter that big tech is showing in front of you. You don't see the conversations as they are because big tech has the power to show you what they think you should see and then multiply by billions of people to estimate the impact on the society. And then you think, okay, I don't like this, but what can I do about this? What can we all do about this? Is there anything that can be done? Yes, there is. This called Web 3.0, and that's why we're working on it. That's the second part, reality filter. All right, but you think, okay, I go into my Google documents, or I go into my notes. I cannot say anything. I cannot research anything because I see the reality to this filter. But at least I have this private mental space to collect my thoughts. But at least I have this private mental space to collect my thoughts, reads a 19-year-old NSA analyst at a spy agency and says, you look like a dangerous individual by looking at your private documents. By the way, let's look at your connections. Let's look at your relatives. Oh, look, he has a daughter. Let's look into her iCloud account. Wow, that's some juicy photos. George, by the way, let's look at this and send this to Bill on the second floor. He collects the stuff. He loves this. This is literally what Edward Snowden witnessed while he was working at the NSA. And this is what's going on in other spy agencies. And of course, we know that all our emails, documents, messages, personal photos, private videos, browser history, location history, Zoom calls, everything is being streamed to this data center in Utah. This has been going since 2013. 9 years has passed. Well, at least we know about this since 2013. It was even earlier. But nothing has been done about it. It's still going on. All of your family, friends, and then they say, we're going to use it for good, and then they use it, of course, for their own personal career and political reasons, as usual. And then you think, okay, I don't like what's going on right now, but what can we do about this? 9 years has passed. Is there anything that can be done about this? Yes, there is. It's called Web 3.0, and that's why we're working on it. So that's the easiest way to explain to people what Web 3 is, not blockchains and tokens. This is how. People should understand first why we need all of this. When they understand why, they would be interested in the how part. So Web 3.0, it's not adding a token to a VR chat and calling it a metaverse, although it can be a part of it. It's not expensive monkey pictures on the blockchain, although they can be a part of it. First and foremost, since Satoshi time and before, it was this dream of technologies of a decentralized internet that can cure all of the problems the current internet has. And then you understand why you need the internet to be decentralized, because if there is any part that is still centralized, that's where they will try to put censorship and reality filter and mass surveillance, if there is any link that is not sufficiently decentralized. So it's such a relief that today we have a Web 3.0 industry, right? And today anyone can use Web 3. Look, so many people and so many projects. So where do I go if I want to have the internet without censorship, without mass surveillance, without reality filter? Where do I go? And you can notice that it's in a Comic Sans font, right? This is because, oh, what's this? The NFT you try to visit is no longer available because it violates community guidelines. Wait, I thought this is Web 3. I thought this cannot happen. I thought this is decentralized internet. Who is calling the shots here? Oh, look at this. Don't use curve.fi site. Name server is compromised. Likely the name server itself has a problem. I thought this is Web 3. I thought this is decentralized internet. This cannot happen. How can this happen? All right, let's point domains to IPFS, right? The Web 3 way. The problem is browser cannot natively use IPFS, right? So what do? Of course, companies like Cloudflare conveniently provide gateways to IPFS. Oops, what this? Budget Hour reveals details on how it was hacked for $120 million. A maliciously injected snippet from Cloudflare. Interesting. I thought this is Web 3. How can this be happening? All right, let's put this directly on the blockchain. Let's use decentralized domains, .eth, .crypto, .sol, etc. But then they are not resolving natively in the browser. So what do? If I go to vitalik.eth, I cannot use it in the browser, right? Anyone knows what should I do? Right, 95% of people just add .link, and that's it. That's how you use domains. Now I can access Vitalik's blog. Yes, everything is great until one day you go there and it says, eth.link has expired. Wait, what? Ethereum Name Service Foundation says, we are aware that eth.link is down. Unfortunately, the name is owned by one dude, Virgil Griffith, who is currently unavailable. Do you know why he is, what this means, currently unavailable? Oh, it means he's in prison for 5 years in the United States without access to the internet, and that's why the domain expired. So you want to tell me that 95% of people in the Ethereum space were using decentralized applications through a domain owned by one guy, which is now in prison, and that's why the domain expired? Yes, always has been, right? And they were able to get the domain back, but they had to file an injunction with the US court, and the US court gave them the ownership of this domain back to ENS Foundation. So who really is owning the domain? So we can see that this is not the Web 3 we've been dreaming about at Find It For. At least the people who know about this since the cypherpunk days before Satoshi, and the Satoshi was part of the movement. There is no Web 3 right now, despite the whole industry dedicated to it. It's still Web 2. Because still, a lot of the projects use centralized domains, centralized storage, and they have a lot of things where we can put censorship and mass surveillance, etc., right? So I didn't come here, of course, to complain, right? And we can show what we have done, like, okay, what's the solution? What can we do about this, right? And at least there are some architectures that can do something about this, right? So what we have done, that's why we started working on the project. We just codenamed it Point Network, but really it's the full implementation of Web 3. We thought, how can we create an internet where finally there is no censorship, there is no mass surveillance, and there is no reality filter? And what we've done is we said, okay, let's identify, everyone is trying to decentralize the chains, the chain level. But what about, what's the use of decentralizing the chain level if how you access the chain is centralized, if they can put censorship, etc. there? So we identified the layers of the internet, the major layers that need to be completely decentralized. One of them is domains, blockchain domains, and then storage, and then how you access the blockchain contracts, which is right now you use something like MetaMask. And of course, if Google deletes it tomorrow, 99% of your users will not be able to access your decentralized applications. Not to mention the updates that Google can send, malicious updates. And the Web3 identities, how we use. So that's what we did. We have a Web3 browser. And in there, as you can see, there is .point domains. And they are pointing not at the IP address. No, this is Web2 way, at the hash. And for the technical audience here, what we did is it's pointing to a hash of the folder that is representing the website, the root folder of your website. And if you want to change it, it's one transaction on the blockchain, the hash changes, and the whole thing changes. But of course, we cannot store things on the blockchain because that would be very expensive. So what we do is we use decentralized storage, and people use IPFS, Filecoin, and there is not much time to explain, but we decided to use Arviv, which is a decentralized storage, and they are backers as well. And the way it's done, again, to battle censorship, even if half of the network goes down, the other half will still serve your files. You can go to sleep, and the website you deploy and point will still stay there. And we are so radically pro-decentralization that we decided to completely disconnect Web 2. Not to try to add something to Web 2 as an addition, but for the first time, there is this network that is completely disconnected from the old internet. If you go to facebook.com, you cannot open it. It will ask you to open in your normal browser. This means that if you are, why we did this? If you're saying that you are a decentralized application, you better be decentralized because you cannot ping your own servers, you cannot store your NFTs on AWS, and you cannot spy on your users using Google Analytics, right? Because there is no IP addresses, connections, etc. So for the first time, yes, only decentralized domains, only decentralized storage, and only decentralized identities can be accessed within this ecosystem. So instead of trying to put wheels on horses, finally there's a car that can be done. Real Web3, if you Google Real Web3, our name comes up first. So what is possible once we have this architecture in place? What's the use cases, right? Like people say, well, what's the use cases of Web3? Well, first is censorship-resistant websites. This is needed, right? And since every change to the website is a transaction on chain, anyone can see what's going on with an application. Remember the curve.finance website that got hacked, right? The curve.fi team, they realized it hours later that this was happening when the users said, we lost money. And they said, no, I don't think it's you lost any money. And then they checked it out. Here, they would immediately see, because there's a new transaction on the chain, they could see the notification. Auditing companies could be subscribed to the notifications to be able to see that something changed on the website. We could do multi-sig domains, meaning that right now, if your team has 20 people, only one needs to be compromised that has access to the servers to be able to compromise the whole application. Here, what we can do, because we're upgrading all protocols of the internet, might as well come up with new features, is that let's say 5 out of 20 people need to be compromised because every time you need to do an update, people have to vote and click yes and approve the update, right, which is much more secure. And of course, decentralized social media, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, we can do all of that. We have our own social network, social.point. It's called Point Social, and a lot of people are enjoying that as well. So basically, we created this infrastructure, the main layer, but we decided not to, it would be empty if not for some demo application. So that's what we did. We have social networking application, we have decentralized YouTube, a decentralized email, end-to-end encrypted, meaning that's the mass surveillance part, right? Decentralized Google Drive, basically Point Drive. You can upload your files, it's encrypted with your seed phrase, it's stored openly but encrypted, and then you go to any other computer, you log in with your seed phrase, all your files are here, not surveilled by Google or NSA or whatever, right? So that's how it should work in the future. And then subscriptions, that's what we're doing. I'm going to quickly scroll through that because we have all the information to do that. Subscriptions to communities, and that's what we're working on right now. Basically, we have decentralized Medium, so blog for creators, and then we decided, okay, then we need private communities, meaning encrypted communities. You could add people to the group, and only if they have the decryption key, they will be able to see what's inside. And then we could have private paid communities. If you are subscribed to a content creator, only then you could go inside. It's like decentralized Patreon. And then finally, the NFTs would have some use cases, right? Because you could also replace it with enter with NFT, basically, right? If you have the NFT, then you can access this decentralized community. So what's next? I mean, we have a roadmap. You're probably used to seeing this roadmap. Like in Q1, we're going to do this, and Q2, we're going to do this. OK, so this is our roadmap. It didn't even fit on the screen. There was not enough space. So I'm going to zoom in. We did this infrastructure part. So we did the browser and the infrastructure and domain storage, everything, right? We did some of the test applications, like Point Social, Point Mail, Point Drive, Point Tube, just to show what's possible, just to show that this is possible and how it works. It's all open source on GitHub. But of course, in order to do all of this, no matter how big our team is, even though we employ 12 developers and 2 of them PhDs, 1 of them professor of blockchain, teaching blockchain at day and then working on Point at night, there is no way we can do all these applications. So that's why we are talking to people and saying, now is the community part. Now they need to come in and help us build those applications because it's very easy. Anyone can deploy your own websites on Point right now. What's next? The problem is, even though we wrote all this, we never know what's going to happen next, right? If you asked, let's say, Vitalik, before the Ethereum was created, well, what Ethereum is going to bring, there is no way he could have told you, oh yeah, there's going to be NFTs and CryptoKitties and DeFi. He would have had no idea, right? It's only later the community creates some interesting applications that the creators of the protocol don't even know. The same thing with the original internet, someone who created HTTP, right, or FTP or SMTP. There's no way they could have known what's going to happen today, right? And so that's the open question, and that's up to the community, and that's why we're inviting people to join us. And we're not saying that we are going to be the ones to take over Web3. Maybe some other projects have similar architecture. We don't see anyone else doing that. That's why, like, if they did, we would have used their project instead. But yes, at least we're on this journey, and everyone is welcome to join us if you want to go from Web 2.5 to full Web 3 finally, and to have the decentralized internet, an internet without censorship, without mass surveillance, and without big tech's reality filter. Yeah, thank you. We don't have any booth, but can come chat. Thanks.